Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert. Thank you for joining me today. This is the weekly live stream where we talk all about entrepreneurship, side hustles, small business, startups, all that kind of stuff. This is episode number 77 that we've done of these. And as always, a shout out goes out to my YouTube channel members, my Patreons, my Super Thanks donors, and to you, my participants. So if you are here and you're watching this, get in the chat. There should be a chat box somewhere nearby my face, and you can access that if you're a subscriber, and you can tell me what you're wondering about, what you're struggling with, and just your reactions to stuff. The topic of today is business plan mistakes that kill startups. So if you're interested in that, we're going to be talking about that. And how to avoid them. That's kind of an important part. So, man, my camera is bright. I guess it's just bright in here today, so that's good. I see there are 11 people here. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you are interested in this stuff. This is for people who are looking to start a business or start a side hustle. And I'm always a big fan of side hustles because it's a great way to put your toe in the water of entrepreneurship type activities and really get a taste of it and learn how it works before you do anything more risky like quitting your day job and taking the plunge. You know, side hustles are a great way to do this, and I encourage everyone to, who has an interest in any kind of creative kind of thing and turning your creative passion or your hobby into a money-making venture. So you can tack it on as a revenue stream to supplement your income. Or, as I say, if you do that and it's a direction you want to go, you can take the plunge and you can leave the world of working as an employee behind you and become your own person and make money yourself directly without going through an intermediary like an employer, because after all, that's all an employer is. They're an intermediary. They make the money by going directly to their customers, and you come in and you basically say to them, I don't understand any of that, but I do have some skills, so you handle that part, the making money part, and if I provide these skills to you, you give me a little tiny piece of it, right? That's what being an employee is. If you decide to tack on business skills, then you can learn how to make money directly without the need for an employer. You understand how to create something and how to get it to customers yourself, customers who would pay for it, and you do it in such a way that you'd make a profit. And unlike being an employee, you get to keep all the money in this scenario. So that's the incentive to do this. I think it's an absolutely magical thing. I think it's very liberating, and I think a lot of other people who have the passion to do this would find that not only is it a good thing, but it's easier to do than you think. At least it's easier to work on than you think. You don't have to spend a lot of money at this. And that's one of the things we're going to be covering today under this main topic of business plan mistakes that kill startups and how to avoid them. Why don't we get right to that? And then after I cover this, I'll answer questions. We'll get in the chat and see what you guys are saying. Okay. So business plan mistakes that kill startups. Maybe you've written a business plan. Maybe you've delved into that world before. There are a lot of different mistakes you could make when writing a business plan. Trust me. Pretty much everything you put in a business plan could be wrong. And if you've done one of these, you know that there's different sections, right? So there's usually some kind of executive summary or introduction first. Then you talk about your marketing plan, you talk about your product, you talk about the structure and organization of your company. If it's just you or there's other people involved, you talk about what you're going to be selling, right? And then you talk about the financial situation. Okay, what are your projections for how much it's going to cost and where you're going to get the money from, all that kind of stuff. And what is going to lead to profitability. So that would be an estimate of what your costs are going to be and an estimate of what your revenues are going to be. So sales revenues, what to price your product at, and all that kind of stuff. So as you can imagine, inside that process, there's opportunity to make a lot of mistakes. Pretty much everything that I mentioned, you could goof up, right? And what a lot of people do when they write business plans is they just guess. They just guess at all of this. They say, I'm going to do this. They have no idea if that's going to work or not. No evidence that that's even, something that, would work if somebody called you on it. And then they say, I'm going to sell it to these people for this much. Now, you have no idea if you can even do that, if you can even reach those people, let alone get them to buy it. And if you get them to buy it, there's no guarantee that they'll sell in that quantity that you're predicting, or in that time scale you're predicting. Like everything, is basically up for discussion. Everything is a total guess usually, because you're making the business plan before you begun to work on the business, and that can be a pretty big flaw. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about this week in this topic is managing risk. Okay, who knows what risk is? I think most people have a general idea of the definition of the word risk, but in a business sense, risk means something else. Risk, it pertains to the area of business we call finance. Finance is the study of money in the future. So finance explores making financial decisions. Should I do A or should I do B? What will happen if I do A? What will happen if I do B? What's the likelihood of that thing happening? And what's the likelihood of the other thing happening? So therefore, how do I compare them? And then what would ultimately be the smartest thing for me to do? That's finance. That's what they do in finance, right? It deals with risk and return. So risk is essentially the likelihood of a certain outcome happening, right? For example, you play the lottery and you buy a lottery ticket. Well, the chance of return would be presumably several $1 million, like if you won the jackpot. That's the expected return. But what's the risk? What's the likelihood of that happening? Is it 0.00001% likelihood, right? That maybe that's your option A, or option B would be this other thing where the likely return is, say, $20, something modest like that. But the risk is very low. The chance of that happening is 98%. So 98% chance you're going to get $20, whereas a 0.00001% chance you're going to get $100 million, right? Which one should you do, right? And to complicate matters, finance, they take these decisions as if they are recurring decisions. You do this over and over and over again. So for example, if every day you had the option of either playing the lottery for those odds, or you could keep a $20 bill, which one would you choose, right? Maybe if you only had one throw of the dice, it would be kind of silly to buy the lottery ticket. Instead, you keep the $20 because the likelihood that that's going to pay off, with one attempt is pretty low. But if you keep doing this long term, maybe, just maybe, the playing the lottery option might start to make sense. So anyway, this is what finance does. If you think of things like insurance, I know this is like action-packed talking about this, but that's like insurance. What are the odds that your house is going to burn down? Well, if you got fire insurance, that's like winning the lottery. You get X many $1 million if your house burns down, but the likelihood of your house burning down is very, very low, hopefully. So, it's the same kind of thing, right? This is what finance does. Now, let's return to business plans. Let's return to the world of startups and entrepreneurship here. The thing that a lot of not so smart would-be entrepreneurs do is they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money investing in this idea, an idea that's totally unproven. You have a business plan, this is what you're going to do, And unfortunately, it takes a lot of money to get it off the ground. It might take like $100,000 to get it off the ground in some extreme cases. Now, if you are uncertain about everything in the plan, it's all guesswork, you're running a very high risk. You're essentially gambling a lot of money. If you don't have evidence backing up any of the things that you say is going to happen, chances are you're going to fail. And this is one of the reasons why we see a lot of startup ventures failing, right? It's like a 90% failure rate or whatever it is. Right? So this is the thing. A lot of people don't give any thought to risk management when they come up with a business plan. So what's the outcome? I'm just going to cut right to the chase. The outcome is, in my opinion, the people that succeed at this are the ones that try and do it without spending any money. You know, there's a really important thing that's helped me, and I feel like I'm giving away a pearl of wisdom here for anyone who's listening. Instead of thinking like, okay, how can I raise the money to pay for this cost, pay for this expense? Okay, which is like what occurs, you know, in the finance department and at the top strategic level in a lot of businesses. They always think like, okay, this is our plan, so therefore, how can we raise the money to put our plan into motion, right? Instead of thinking, how can I raise the money to pay for this expense, you should start thinking, how can I avoid this expense in the first place? Is there some substitute or some workaround or something that would serve the same purpose? You know, with a little bit of thinking, we usually can find that a lot of expenses are optional, right? In the context of starting a business or testing the waters, right? You know, instead of purchasing a piece of equipment or whatever to make your product, can you borrow it? Can you, can you talk to the person that runs a facility that includes that piece of equipment? They have that equipment. You know, can you go in between midnight and 4 in the morning and use it when there's no demand for it, just sitting idle, you know, for free or for like a pittance, right? Is that a possibility, right? If you push and search for those things, a lot of the time you can find it. Can we change the design in such a way that that piece of equipment is not even needed, is unnecessary? Now listen, a lot of people, when they think like this, okay, they find that some things are just unavoidable. There's no way around it. But a lot of other things, you find that, yes, there is an alternative. We can avoid that expense by employing some thinking here and coming up with a creative solution for this. So if you don't even consider that step, obviously you won't reap the benefits of it. If you consider it, if you try and think like that, there's a lot of improvements you can make, and you can really cut down the amount of money you're trying to spend to make something happen. Okay, so if you're not spending a lot of money, your risk in a sense is lowered. Like what you stand to lose is lowered. And if you can do it for practically nothing, then the only thing you're risking is your time being wasted. And if you're learning, I would argue that your time is never really being wasted. You know, if you're trying things and getting real world results, I would argue that. Okay. A big mistake that kills startups is not knowing the steps. You know, like what order should I do this in to get it off the ground? Another big mistake is not understanding the market. Who are your customers? Have you met any of your customers? Go out and mingle with your customers. Find out how they think. You know, what are their habits? What's their reasoning? What are their responses to various things? You know, the practical way of doing this is usually going out and hanging out with your customers. If it's in the physical world, you know, you go to where your customers are. Maybe they go to stores or events. Go there, hang out with them, talk to them, right? If it's online, it's a virtual thing. Go and interact with them. Go and propose things to them and see their response. Go and like observe how they respond to other things and what they're saying to each other, right? So you really need to do that if you're going to try to make any kind of predictions about how they're going to behave if you were to try and sell them something. Not understanding on the operation side, not understanding the operational difficulties to get to an MVP. An MVP is a minimal viable product. If you're creating a product, if you are, as opposed to a service, then you have to build something. If nothing else, you should be building a prototype, right? A lot of businesses fail, or a lot of startups fail, because they don't even get to the stage where they build their MVP, their minimum viable product. So their prototype. They don't even get to that stage because they thought they could do it, but it turns out they can't. Or at least not with the budget they had, or not within the time limits they had. They can't get it off the ground. Others fail after they create a minimum viable product, where, for a variety of reasons, one popular reason is because it costs way more than they thought, and it's a lot harder than they thought. So they would have had to sell it for a lot more money, and they know that they can't sell it for that amount of money. It just won't sell, not the quantities they're needing. So they could do it, but they can't do it in a way that they can make a profit. The third reason people fail is that they get to their MVP, they create it. It goes more or less according to plan. It costs more or less what they were expecting and involves the process they predicted. But the problem is with the marketing. They find that then they can't sell it. They've created something that apparently people don't want. It's a tough sell. And the failure there was in the marketing side, where they didn't know their market, they didn't know their customers, they didn't know that their customers would just not be interested in it. They're not looking for that, right? So those are some popular reasons why things have failed. And I've seen all this. I've worked with people that have done all of these many times over. Another popular thing is just the budgeting, not budgeting properly. Okay, your budget affects your plan. It has a mesh relationship with everything you're going to do, right? So if you make a big plan and then you find that it's like going to cost an arm and a leg to do it, right? Then you have the problem of we got to either raise that money somehow or take that risk, or we've got to change the plan. And when you change the plan, it affects everything. Everything has a mesh relationship between all these components, right? That's what makes it challenging, right? So these are popular reasons why things fail. So what's the advice? The advice that I always give is to be honest with everyone. I think that if you're a side hustle or a startup or even a small business, I think that doing a business plan is almost a waste of time unless you know exactly what you're going to do and you have evidence to back up all of it. Then you can commit it to writing for whatever reason. Usually at that point, you don't need to commit it to writing because you're not trying to impress anyone. Instead of writing down a solid plan at the beginning, this is what I advocate. I advocate you just jump in with both feet and try it. The caveat is that you're not spending any real money. So you're risking your time being wasted. But apart from that, you're learning as you go. Now, if you think you can make a certain product or provide a certain service, and you think it will sell to these people, okay, let's get some evidence. Let's start getting evidence for that. And in order to do that, you break it down into baby steps. So each of these little pieces, making the product, selling it, seeing if we can get the word out. Maybe before that, there's even the question of, is this what people want? What is the product we should create for them? What form will it take? What features will it have? Right? Even that step that goes at the beginning, let's do that. Let's just jump in. How can we make a plan if we don't even know what we're going to build or what we're going to provide? Right? What's the point of writing up budgets when you don't know what you're going to do? Right? So that's what I would say. Break it down into baby steps and test each piece and start with the marketing. Start with the connecting with your audience component. That's what I'd say. I think that's probably good to start off with. That's what I have to say about that. Let's go over to questions. Get in the chat. There you should see a chat box. Get in the chat. Let me know if you've got questions or you're wondering anything or you have comments, I'm going to turn down the brightness on my cameras here. They're pretty damn bright. It's a very bright sunny day, so which I'm not complaining about. As you can tell by my voice, I am under the weather. There is a cold slash flu slash bug slash thing going around. And I got it. I got it, baby. So I'm whacked up with medication so I can make it through this. Hopefully I didn't lose too many IQ points from the medication. But I'm here and in the flesh. So get in the chat and let me know if you have any questions. I see there's 25 people here, so hopefully somebody can get some questions happening or comments, and it might fuel a discussion. Incidentally, if you are looking to learn the answers, like if you're looking to learn business and how one goes about doing this type of thing, I got a course right here. The $100 MBA. Best bang for the buck around. It teaches you everything, like it says, it teaches you everything that you would learn in a brick and mortar MBA program. And that's quite a boast for $100. Not $100,000, $100. Just that simple. The catch is that it's self-study. You essentially get a reading list, you get a pile of books, and then you could go through them. Either you skim them and do this really, really quickly, get a cursory overview of every subject in the world of business, or you do the whole thing in depth, like you would in an MBA. And the books that you're getting are the actual textbooks that they use at a lot of universities around the world, and some of the most renowned MBA programs is what they teach out of. And you're getting the same material. You just read it on your own schedule to the depth of which you are interested, and that's how you do it. And I provide videos that accompany this, and I give you my take on it. I give an overview of the material, and I kind of give you my opinion on what's more important, what's less important, or how, if you're interested in this, then you would focus on this area, and that kind of thing. So that's what you get. Check it out. There's a link in the description if you're interested. I'm not getting a lot of comments, so I guess I'll have to monologue this whole thing. Okay. So we talked about some of the business plan mistakes that kill startups, where we're talking about all the different components of a business plan. We're talking about the stages that the business goes through, right? There's really 3 reasons why things fail. Why is the sun came out and my camera is bright again? Here, let me adjust that. I feel I'm going to be riding this brightness control. You would think that I'd have like a ability to do that automatically, but I don't. That's the level of technology I'm dealing with here. We talked about the different areas of business, things like marketing, operations, finance, that kind of stuff. It's a fallacy that you need money to get off the ground. You don't. Not for a side hustle, not for a small business. You don't. It's just that simple. You could choose to take on like a really big problem that requires tons of resources. You might need to hire 50 people, to do it, and borrow all the money, hire all the employees, and do it that way. Yes, you can do that. It's very, very risky because you're spending more and more and more. And if you guessed incorrectly, the whole thing doesn't make money. Now you're on the hawk for like all the money that you raise, the capital you raise. Like if you borrowed it all, then you got to pay it all back, right? If people invested with you, like an equity kind of thing, then they just lose all confidence in you and anything you ever do ever again. And you get a bad reputation as an unsound investment. You know what I mean? So you can, take on big challenges and do this, but small business exists to solve small problems. So if you're doing this correctly, you shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? There's no need for that. You could do something that one person can do. They can create something by themselves and they can sell it by themselves. And if you have all the means to do this already, then you don't have to spend any money. You know what I mean? The other thing is that if it does take a little bit of money, like I've talked about in the past, what I recommend there is if operations is not really the area of uncertainty, you know how to make this thing. The area of uncertainty is selling it, right? If that's the situation you're in, then what I recommend is forget about the operations side for now. Go and work on the marketing component, the selling part. See if you can target the right people. See if you can reach them. See if you can propose to them something that they would actually buy. And you do this by doing it. By saying, hey, I'm offering this for sale. And it's not really a lie, because if you get a ton of demand, if 50 people respond by saying, yes, I'll take 2, here's my money, right? Then you could create that product and fill those orders, right? And make the money, right? The advantage is that you get paid up front. Just like, Amazon, you order the thing first and then they send it to you later, sometimes a lot later, depending on how it goes. Right? So, full disclosure, this is what you're doing. But if you have this great idea for, I'm going to create this and I think it's going to sell like hotcakes to these people, but then you try your best effort to sell it to those people and you get crickets, was it like the tumbleweed going by, right? Silence, nobody's responding to it. And it's kind of a good thing you learned this now, that if you had invested all the time and money into create the product first, and then you find out later that nobody wants to buy it, right? You've wasted all that time and money and effort. And if it costs you a lot, that's a big risk. That's a big loss, right? There's some people that I worked with that they did this in such a way, they spent so much money on a plan, which was in a business plan. They wrote it up, in great detail. They spent so much money on a plan that was all based on guesswork. I'm assuming that if I do this, people will do this and they'll all line up to buy it. And it was so financially detrimental to them that killed, it seems, all desire to do any kind of entrepreneurial activity for the rest of their lives. That's what it seems like. They have to stop. They have to go get day jobs, pay off their huge debts, and then think of maybe starting again. And that might be years until they can start again. And by that time, do you think they want to do it again? Probably not. Right? It was such a bad experience the first time. So that's what the situation that everyone should avoid. You could do this. And if you're looking for an example, I would say, like what I always say, like a YouTube channel is probably the most obvious example. Where I'm talking to you over YouTube, so you're probably familiar with YouTube. Does it cost anything to start a YouTube channel? No. Assuming you have, say, a smartphone. You have a smartphone. Okay, so you get a YouTube channel for free, and then you can start making content. Does that cost any money? No. No, it doesn't, really. Certainly not any serious money. Just a question of doing it, right? So, there's a lot of ideas like that don't cost very much to get off the ground. You could start selling different things. You could sell, maybe you have skills. You could sell your services. That's a popular one that one person could do part-time. There's all kinds of stuff, But the key is that it doesn't cost a lot of money. Because this is a journey really to learn. It's a journey to learn about your customers, what they want, and what you could do for them. That's really what it is. If you know that it's hard to fail. The challenge is getting that knowledge. Okay, there are 25 people. Get in the chat. Usually we have a lot of comments and a lot of questions and stuff. We're not getting any today, so I don't know if there was a technical problem or something like that, but get in the chat. Let me know what your deal is, what you're hoping to learn. Maybe I can help you out. If you've got specific questions, I can certainly speak to those. It's been just over half an hour, so if I don't get anything in the chat, I don't really have any more material to just go through as a monologue. So I'll probably have to wind this down. Oh, and my nose is blocked too. It's hard to talk when your nose is blocked. Yeah, I love business. I think it's great. I think it's very empowering. There's a couple of aspects to it. One is the whole like creativity thing, where, you know, we talked about this last time, where people use the word creativity, they talk about fine arts, as if people who don't do fine arts can't be creative. You know, that's obviously false. Creativity is a part of any kind of job you could ever get. I don't care if you process chickens in a rendering plant, you can still be creative. You know what I mean? A lot of people that work in operations, a lot of technical people, introverted people, whatever, you know, maybe non-artistic people, you could still be highly creative. Creative in the solutions you use to solve practical problems in your life, you know? And entrepreneurship is a great way to take advantage of that creativity and use it to make money. You know, that's what it is. I think it's great. There's a lot of people out there that are a lot more creative than they think. And the other aspect of this is the whole business thing. Business is the scientific study of how to make money. That's what it is. You know, and if you are trying to take a hobby or an artistic sort of passion you have, or a creative passion you have, and use it to make money, well, you're in the world of business. That's what it is. It's no longer art. It's no longer creativity. It's business, right? If you're just in it trying to please yourself, that's fine. And then it can be art. You know, then it can be something, as long as it makes you happy and it's fulfilling, it's good, you know? And that's the only thing that matters, right? But the moment you try and sell it and say like, okay, my goal now is to make money with it. I would like to increase my sales and therefore my profit so I can use this as an income stream. Then you're in the world of business. If that's your goal, then that's what business is. And one of the things that you do in business is it's not all about you. It's about your customer, right? What do they think? What do they like? What do they want? And if you could deliver that to them better than anyone else, or better in a very narrow sense than anyone else, then you succeed. And financial success comes with that. You know, I think it's a really, really cool thing. The ability to take any kind of hobby or creative passion and make money off it, I think that's fantastic. I think that a lot more people would be interested in this, in learning business, if they realize that that's what it is, and that's what it could do to them, for them. That's what that knowledge could do. Anyway, we are not getting a lot of activity, so I'm going to wind this down. That's not a big deal. I'm actually back later this afternoon. I've got another live stream today. It's a collaborative live stream. It's called Careers Expert Roundtable, and it's in an hour and a half on my channel, and I'm collaborating with another YouTuber. That's Abby from a YouTube channel called Life Work Balance, not work-life balance, but Life Work Balance. She's a former recruiter. She talks about like how to get hired and stuff like that. So we do collaborative live streams every once in a while, and we're doing one this afternoon. So if you have any interest in that stuff, check out my channel. It's on her channel. It's also on my channel. But we'll be doing that for about an hour this afternoon. So come back and see us then. In the meantime, there's still 21 people here. Thank you for being here. If you want to learn more about this stuff and be in a position, put yourself in a position where you can take your career in your hand and learn how to make money directly without needing an employer to sort of partner with you to make money, check out that course, the $100 MBA, link in the description. It's a pretty popular course. I've sold quite a lot of them, and I know a lot of people are happy with it. So check that out. And every week I do a live stream. Usually it's Side Hustle Ideas, where we talk about side hustles. Sometimes I'll substitute it for another live stream where we talk about business. But either way, I talk about business every week. That's kind of my core competency. So come back and let me know how it's going and if I can help you out. So that's everything. Thank you very much for being here. You guys are awesome. And I'll see you next week on another edition of Side Hustle Ideas. Take care.